Okay, so ready to dive into a world where everything online is totally unhackable. Like imagine online banking, government secrets, even like private whispers, everything completely secure. That's the potential of quantum communication.
It really is like something out of science fiction.
Yeah, and that's what we're going to unpack today.
Yeah.
You shared this essay by Yurgo Schneppat with me.
Yeah, it really digs deep into how this tech actually works.
And what's really amazing is how Schneppat doesn't just stay theoretical.
Yeah.
He brings in real world examples.
He talks about how governments and financial institutions are already using this stuff.
Yeah, to safeguard their data. Is a sign this isn't just some far-off fantasy.
It's happening now.
Yeah, exactly. Schneppat really gets to the heart of it right away, too. He's like traditional encryption, the stuff that's protecting our data right now. It's becoming more and more vulnerable.
Yeah, especially this looming threat of quantum computers.
Right, and Schneppat emphasizes how these quantum computers could actually, crack the codes that secure our online world.
It's a serious threat, but what's so interesting is how he shows that quantum communication itself offers a defense against this.
So it's like fighting fire with fire.
Yeah, in a way, but it's more like creating an impenetrable shield.
Okay, so then how does this all work?
Well, Schneppat lays out a few key principles of quantum mechanics that are essential to understanding how this all works.
And this is where things get really wild.
Yeah, like take superposition, for example. This is the idea that a single particle can exist in multiple states at the same time.
Whoa.
Yeah. It challenges everything we think we know about how the world works.
Right. It's like a coin being both heads and tails until you look at it.
Yeah, and Schneppat explains how this concept of superposition is used to create secure key exchange in quantum communication.
Okay, so then there's this other idea called entanglement.
Right. Schneppat describes it as this bizarre link between two particles.
Like they can be miles apart, but they still influence each other instantly.
Yeah, it's like spooky action at a distance. It's mind-blowing, but it's key to generating and sharing these secret keys that are basically tamper-proof.
So almost like telepathy.
In a way. And then there's another principle that Schneppat brings in called the no-cloning theorem.
Okay, what's that?
Well, it basically says you can't just copy quantum information.
So if you tried to intercept a message encoded in these quantum states.
Right. Any attempt to eavesdrop would just disrupt the states, leaving evidence that someone tried to tamper with it.
So it's like trying to photocopy a self-destructing document.
Exactly. You can't do it without destroying the original.
Okay, so how do we put all these mind-boggling principles into practice?
That's where quantum key distribution, or QKD, comes in.
QKD?
Yeah. Schneppat explains how it allows two parties, let's call them Alice and Bob, to establish this shared secret key.
So like a password?
Yes. But it's virtually impossible to intercept without being detected.
And there's more than one way to do this, right?
Right. Schneppat details two main protocols, BB84 and E91.
BB84 and E91?
Yeah, and both of them use these principles we've been talking about, like superposition and entanglement, to create these super secure keys.
So if I'm understanding this correctly, Alice and Bob can use photons, those tiny particles of light, to transmit this secret key information.
Exactly. And because of quantum mechanics, any attempt to spy on this exchange would be immediately obvious.
Wow, Schneppat doesn't stop there though, right? He goes on to explore even more cutting-edge QKD protocols.
Yeah, like device-independent QKD. This is where things get really crazy because the security holds up even if the equipment used is faulty or compromised.
It's like having a lock that's tamper-proof, even if the locksmith is shady.
A perfect analogy. And then there's continuous variable QKD, which uses more readily available technology like fiber optics.
So that could be a faster way to make quantum communication more widely used.
Absolutely. It relies on infrastructure that we already have in place.
So we've got these incredible possibilities. But what about the challenges of implementing this stuff? Are there downsides?
Of course, Schneppat acknowledges that one of the biggest hurdles is signal loss over long distances. You see, these quantum states that carry the information are extremely fragile. Transmitting them over long distances without degrading the signal, it's a major technical challenge.
So is there a way to solve that?
Well, Schneppat talks about this fascinating idea called quantum repeaters. They basically act as relay stations along the communication path to refresh the signal. So the quantum information can travel further without losing its integrity.
So like a chain of these repeaters could stretch across an ocean.
Exactly. Enabling secure communication between continents is still very experimental, but it's a brilliant solution.
Wow, so we're talking about sending these signals across entire continents, even oceans.
Yeah, it's a huge task, and Schneppat really gets into the nitty-gritty of it all.
He does. He doesn't shy away from the complexity.
Not at all. He lays out the limitations of what we can do now and the research that's being done to overcome those limitations.
It's like he's giving us a peek behind the curtain.
Exactly. Showing us the cutting edge of quantum engineering.
You know what I find really interesting is how Schneppat links this fragility of the signals to the inherent security of quantum communication.
Yeah, it's almost paradoxical.
It is. The same thing that makes these signals so difficult to transmit also makes them incredibly secure.
It's because any attempt to intercept or manipulate these quantum states would leave a trace.
So it's like impossible to tamper with them without being detected.
Exactly. And that's what makes them so appealing for secure communication. It's like nature itself is protecting the information.
So cool. But we can't just rely on physics alone, right? Schneppat talks about some pretty amazing technological solutions too, like those quantum repeaters we were discussing.
Right. Quantum repeaters are key for extending the range of quantum communication.
So they're like stepping stones for these fragile signals.
Exactly. They allow the signals to hop from one repeater to the next, refreshing the signal along the way.
So you could have a whole chain of them stretching across the Atlantic.
Right. Enabling secure communication between Europe and North America.
It's an amazing concept. And Schneppat really makes you believe that it could become a reality.
He does. And he also talks about the development of quantum memory.
Oh yeah, what's that?
It's essentially a way to store and retrieve quantum information.
So like a hard drive for a quantum computer.
Exactly. It's essential for building more complex quantum networks.
So we're talking about building a whole new internet based on quantum mechanics.
That's exactly where Schneppat takes us. He envisions a future where this quantum internet revolutionizes everything.
Everything.
Yeah, think about medicine, finance, scientific research. Imagine being able to share huge amounts of data instantly and securely.
Like researchers on opposite sides of the world could collaborate in real time.
All protected by the unbreakable laws of physics.
It's incredible, but it's also a little mind-boggling.
I know. It's hard to wrap your head around.
Okay, so let's back up a bit. What are some of the technological breakthroughs that have made quantum communication a reality in the first place?
Well, one of the most important advancements is the development of these super-sensitive single photon detectors.
Single photon detectors.
Yeah, they can detect individual particles of light. The photons that carry the quantum information.
So like a microscope that can see individual atoms.
Exactly. It's
Right.
mind-blowing. And then there's the progress being made in creating and manipulating entangled particles.
Those are the particles that are linked together
Right.
even when they're far apart, right?
Right. They're at the heart of many quantum communication protocols.
And Schneppat says that these advancements are already moving from the lab into real-world applications.
It does. He mentions governments and financial institutions using quantum communication to protect their most sensitive data.
It's like something you'd see in a spy movie.
And it's happening right now. He specifically talks about China's role in deploying satellite-based quantum communication networks.
Wow, so we're sending quantum information through space.
We are. It's
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
But Schneppat doesn't just focus on these high-level applications. He also explores how quantum communication could affect our everyday lives.
Imagine a world where all our online activity is protected by unbreakable quantum encryption.
Our financial transactions, our medical records, even our personal messages.
All completely secure. It's a level of security that we can only dream of with our current technology.
It sounds like we're talking about a whole new era of security and privacy.
We are. It's a fundamental shift.
But as with any powerful technology, there are potential downsides, right? Schneppat talks about those too, doesn't he?
He does. He raises the issue of a quantum divide, where only the people with access to this technology benefit from its security.
So it could create a new kind of inequality.
It could. It's
Yeah.
something we need to think carefully about as we move forward.
And that brings us to the ethical considerations that Schneppat raises. He really wants us to think about the potential impact of this technology on society as a whole.
He does. He presents a balanced view, acknowledging both positive and negative possibilities.
So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about how we use it.
Exactly. We need to be aware of both the potential benefits and the potential risks,
It's our responsibility to make sure that this technology is used for good.
and to make sure that it benefits everyone, not just a select few.
It's a lot to think about.
It is. But these are important conversations to have.
Schneppat really pushes us to look beyond the immediate applications of quantum communication and consider its impact on the fabric of society.
He does. And he even delves into some of the philosophical implications, which are fascinating.
Right, like how this technology could change our understanding of reality itself.
It's based on quantum mechanics, which challenges everything we thought we knew about space-time and causality.
It's like we're stepping into a whole new world.
A world governed by the strange laws of quantum mechanics.
And as we explore this world, it's bound to change our understanding of what's possible and what it means to exist.
Schneepet's essay is a call to action.
It is. It's a challenge for all of us to think critically about the future of quantum communication.
And to work together to shape this technology in a way that benefits humanity.
He's given us a glimpse into a future where the impossible becomes possible.
But it's up to us to decide what we do with this power.
We need to approach this new era with a sense of responsibility and a commitment to ethical development.
I think Schneepet would agree with that.
Definitely.
So what's next?
Well, Schneepet also dives into some of the most promising areas of research in quantum communication.
So he gives us a sense of where the field might be headed.
He does. He talks about advancements in quantum computing, quantum cryptography, and even quantum teleportation.
Quantum teleportation, like beaming things up, like in Star Trek?
Well, not quite. It's more about transferring quantum information from one place to another.
Still sounds pretty futuristic to me.
It is, but it's an area of active research.
This is all so fascinating.
It really is. Schneepet has given us a lot to think about.
He has. His essay is a must-read for anyone who wants to understand the future of technology and the future of our world.
I completely agree. So as always, we encourage you to explore these ideas further and engage in the conversation about quantum communication. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. So Schneepet really wants us to think about the big picture, like how this quantum communication could actually change the world.
Yeah, and what's really interesting is how he presents this kind of paradox. He says that unbreakable encryption could lead to, way more trust and transparency.
How so?
Well, imagine a world where governments can't hide what they're doing, corporations can't lie to their customers, and we can all communicate without anyone snooping.
It's like honesty would be forced on us by physics.
Exactly. It sounds pretty utopian, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. But I guess there's another side of that coin, right?
Right. Schneepet points out that this same technology could also be used for bad things.
Well, like what?
Think about criminal organizations, terrorists, even rogue states. They could use this technology to operate in total secrecy.
Sounds like a double-edged sword.
Exactly. The same thing that could protect us could also be used against us.
That's a pretty scary thought.
It is. And Schneepet doesn't pretend to have all the answers.
He just lays out the possibilities.
Right, both the good and the bad. And he challenges us to think about all the potential outcomes.
It's a good reminder that technology isn't always good or bad. It depends on how we use it.
Exactly.
No.
And it's our responsibility to try to anticipate the risks and figure out how to mitigate them.
Schneepet also gets into some pretty deep philosophical stuff, doesn't he?
He does. He talks about how this technology could actually change our understanding of reality.
What do you mean?
Well, quantum mechanics is all about challenging our common sense notions of how the world works.
Right, like how a particle can be in two places at once.
Exactly. And as we learn more about this quantum realm, it's going to affect how we see the universe and our place in it.
It's like we're entering a whole new world with different rules.
That's a great way to put it.
Yeah.
And Schneepet's essay is kind of like a guidebook for this new world.
So what's the main takeaway?
I think Schneepet wants us to be aware of the potential of this technology, but also the risks.
And he wants us to start thinking about how we want to shape the future of quantum communication.
Exactly. He's not just talking to scientists and engineers. He's talking to all of us.
Because it's going to affect all of us.
It is. This technology has the potential to change everything.
So it's up to us to make sure it changes things for the better.
I agree. We need to approach this new era with a sense of responsibility and a commitment to ethical development.
Well said. Well, Jorgo Schneepet has given us a lot to think about in this essay.
He really has. It's been a fascinating deep dive.
And as always, we encourage you to keep exploring these ideas and join the conversation about the future of quantum communication. Thanks for listening.